Welcome in, Alabama football fans, to the Alabama Ole Miss Instant Reaction Show here on the Bleacher Report app. Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas here as we break down the action from Tuscaloosa this afternoon as Alabama gets the 24-10 win over the Ole Miss Rebels, and what was a Jekyll and Hyde performance for the Crimson Tide in relation from the first half to the second half. Jake, what a game. How you doing, buddy? And what did you think about that contest?
Man, it's a lot better coming on here after a win for sure. I wasn't exactly sure how this game was going to go to start out. There's a lot of indifference I had beginning the game, especially all week, because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I didn't know which Alabama team was going to see. First half, I was like, oh my gosh, we still got the issues. But the second half, like you said, Stacey, Jekyll and Hyde type of performance. I mean, my gosh, the second half looked like a totally different team that come in that locker room, and I was glad to see it, no doubt.
Yep. So guys that you're watching, make sure you jump in the chat and let us know your thoughts and opinions on the matchup as well. And also, we have a couple polls up right now, so make sure you answer those as well. Cannot wait to see what everybody has to think about that. First one we have up right now is, what is your rating for Jalen Milroe's performance today? Also, is Alabama back? Yes, no, or pump the brakes on that. But cannot wait to hear what everybody has to say in the chat and also there in the poll section as well. So make sure you get there. All right, Jake, let's just jump straight into the box score before we do anything else. You see right there, Jalen Milroe, 17-21, 225 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. How would you rate Jalen Milroe's performance today, Jake?
I would say B plus. I feel like Milroe, the big blemish was that interception through in the back of the end zone. That absolutely cannot happen, especially when you're in a scoring situation. Other than that, I thought Milroe played a really good game. There was finally some like QB draws and QB power type runs that got his legs involved. And I mean, everybody knows his best part about his game is his legs. Once he gets in the open field, I mean, he's like a buck runner, man. It's hard to stop. So, I was glad to see the game plan kind of change and got his strengths involved in the game. And I think that's the reason why we had some success in the second half for sure.
Yeah, and the offensive line started generating a little bit more push there in the second half as well. So that was really nice to see. But, Jake, the story of the game is that the 10 points that Ole Miss was only able to score. Kevin Steele called a lights-out performance. I thought the defense executed their game plan really well. Of course, Ole Miss had a couple plays here and there where they had some guys open. But Jake, to only allow 10 points to Jackson Dart and that Ole Miss offense is a huge step in the right direction for Kevin Steele in this defense. And I thought the pressure on Dart and the ability that Alabama had to defend the receivers for Ole Miss was huge. I thought the defensive performance was the story of the day because it kept Alabama in it, especially in the first half when the offense was struggling to really find and build any momentum. And then once the offense was able to catch their rhythm there in the second half, the defense kind of fed off that, and they really played some of the best continuity football that Alabama's played in a couple of years. Because if you remember, Jake, over the past couple of seasons, it's either the offense has played really well and the defense has struggled, or the defense was playing well and the offense couldn't muster anything. It was always kind of a back and forth thing. But there in the second half, Jake, it was a great team effort from both sides of the football. And the way that the defense made adjustments was remarkable. They kind of contained Dart after he started running a little bit there in the first half. And they had him like a deer in the headlights there in the second half with the amount of pressure they were able to put on him. And Holden Quinn, Sean Junkins, just 56 yards was big as well. And you see there Dart, who was their leading rusher entering this contest with only 6 yards. Of course, a lot of that is taken away with sacks, but that's part of it. What a great performance from the Alabama defense. And I think that's the story of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That first drive Ole Miss had, I mean, Jackson Dart just pretty much walked into the end zone because we had a hole as big as the Grand Canyon in the middle at the 5-yard line, and he just allowed him to just walk right in. It seemed like we adjusted after that, and like you said, give credit to Kevin Steele for making that adjustment. We started spying him a little bit more with Blackshire and guys, and man, Dallas Turner, we've been harping on him a little bit because it felt like the first game of the year he really didn't do much. He didn't really do much in that Texas game, but the last 2 weeks, man, He has come alive, and I feel like another thing about the defense. Another thing is about the defensive line. Defensive line is finally got a push today, and they were wreaking havoc in the backfield for Jackson Dart all day. Tim Keenan was in the backfield a good bit. Jaheim Otis got a couple, I think, tackles for loss. Tim Smith as well. I had Tim Smith as my defensive player to watch, and I feel like he had a decent game. I'm not exactly sure what the final stats were on him,
Yeah.
but what we have harped on about the defensive line, as long as you're taking up your block, if you get past your guy and get to the quarterback, that's great. But as long as you allow those pass rushers to get in the backfield, you're winning your job, and they won their job today.
Yeah, for those that we have a show, Tide Talk Live on YouTube, so we'd appreciate it if you check us out there. And we appreciate the opportunity here from Bleacher Report to kind of go live after the game. But Jake, in our preview of this game, you talked about Tim Smith needing to step up, and I mentioned a guy, Jahad Campbell, to step up, and he enters the game after Deontay Lawson exits with an injury, and he leads the team in tackles. So guys stepped up with injuries after injuries and really made plays for Alabama, and it was a really good performance for Alabama. One stat book, he had 7 tackles, so right behind Terry Arnold, who just continues to be a menace there, opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry. Keep it there on the defensive stats, Jake. 3.5 tackles for loss for Dallas Turner, 2 sacks. Another sack there for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Is that that's a tackle for loss. I was about to say a sack. I don't remember that. Yeah, but all those tackles for losses and those sacks are huge. Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner are turning into a fantastic duo there on the edge for Alabama. And if they can continue to get pressure, like you said, Jake, it's gonna change the way this defense can play, especially in the back end. And it's just going to make this defense that much better. Guys like Kendrick Blackshire stepped up, Tresman Marshall, those guys all played well. I thought all around it was a great performance by the defense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I was really excited on how great the defense played. And, man, we talk about the talent all around the field. And if they put it together, I feel like Alabama, I'm trying not to be a homer here, but they are the one of the most dangerous teams in the country when it all comes together. I feel like this is the right stepping stone, especially the second half, how they played, on how they can build the rest of their season. One guy you mentioned, Stacey, Terry Arnold, coming in, everybody was talking about in the offseason about how we have one lockdown corner in Kool-Aid McKinstry, who was going to be that second guy. And I think we have that second guy who's also a lockdown corner. So I don't know how offenses moving forward are going to attack on the outside. They're going to have to look towards like a slot and tight end game to get anything because they're not really going to get anything deep with those two guys locking down their side of the field.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'm putting in another poll for the chat. I want to know who you think the defensive MVP of the day was for Alabama. I put up 3 options, but obviously, if you feel free to let us know in the chat if you thought somebody else deserved to be on that list. So I thought the pass rush was great, and that set the tone for the defense, and it really made Jackson Dart, not get happy feet, but I think he forced the interception that he had to Terry Arnold because he wanted to make a big play. Ole Miss was kind of getting behind the 8 ball a little bit there in the second half. They needed a big play. He was trying to spark that offense, but Alabama was in position, getting a good pass rush. He forces the ball downfield, and Terry Arnold makes him pay for it. So just a great defensive effort all the way around on all 3 levels. Despite Deontay Lawson exiting there in the first half, I thought that was going to be a massive blow for Alabama since he is the leader of that defense, makes all the calls, gets everybody in position. But other guys stepped up, Jake, and that's what it's about, especially when you recruit like Nick Saban does at Alabama. It's all about the next guy stepping up and doing their job. The inside linebackers did a great job kind of filling in that role as a linebacker by committee approach because we saw Trez Marshall, we saw Kendrick Blackshire, we saw Jahad Campbell. So, and all 3 of those guys played well. So really, really good stuff from those players stepping up in the absence of their leader, Deontay Lawson.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to get to the chat here. C Sparks 87 said Tim Keenan is the truth. I agree with that. I mean, you talking about one of the, he's been very consistent this year on the defensive line, I feel like. And Campbell did really well replacing Lawson. I'm with you, Stacey. Once Lawson went down, I was like, oh gosh, I was like, first and foremost, hope it's nothing major. But I'm like, who's the next guy up? And I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Campbell. But, he's been banged up a little bit this season as well. So he really hadn't got a chance to play much. I think he played a little bit last week, but other than that, I was like, okay, somebody's got to step up and be a leader. And you saw, everybody did their job at inside linebacker, outside linebacker, on the defensive line, and in the secondary. So overall, a pretty much perfect, not perfect, but it was a great performance from the defense side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you could really ask for a much better performance from that defense, considering, the talent that they're playing against: Jackson Dart, Quinshon Judkins, those talented receivers they have, and also with Lane Kiffin roaming on the other sideline. So about as good as you can expect from that defense. And they showed up and showed out. Like I said, kept Alabama in the game in the first half. And then the offense started clicking in the second half, Jake, and that's where I want to go to now. Jalen Milroe, I thought he showed incredible toughness. I thought he showed grit. I thought he showed determination. And look, for all his faults, and he's got a few right now because he's a young player, his ability to hit the deep ball it's unbelievable. I don't remember a quarterback that's just been that deadly accurate on the deep ball. I mean, he is on the money every time. Jermaine Burton made a heck of a catch on one deep shot. Jalen Held makes a great play when Milroe takes that massive hit and looks like he was going to be down for the count. But Held, the freshman receiver, steps up and makes the play for Alabama, which is something they need, Jake. Ja'Cory Brooks has been missing in action. Where was Kobe Prentice today? Isaiah Bond didn't get a lot of touches. Malik Benson has been missing in action. So they needed somebody from that wide receiver group to step up today, and it was Jermaine Burton, and it was the freshman Jalen Held. So I think this game was about players stepping up. That's what Alabama needed. Look, they've got 4- and 5-star dudes across the roster. So this game was about players stepping up, taking ownership, and making the plays that are there to be made. And I thought a lot of guys done that and stepped up. Is there a lot of room for improvement? There's no doubt about it. But this team, if they play like they did in the second half, can compete with a lot of teams in the country and will make a good run here in the SEC West to hopefully win this side of the league and make it to Atlanta. But a great start to SEC play, getting a big 14-point home win over Ole Miss, a team who was one of the best, I think the 4th best offense in the country entering the game. And they finished with, maybe 300 yards and 10 points. So incredible performance by the defense. And then the offense answered the bell in the second half and put up, what was it, 7-6 at halftime, Jake?
Yeah.
So a great performance there in the second half to get those 18 points. So, I thought Milroe, like we mentioned, the interception you can't have. You cannot have, especially when you're in the red zone and you got points. And then I want to go back to another play in the first half, Jake. Fresh off the block punt.
Yeah.
We're inside the 2, the 1.
Well, it was a 1-yard line.
And we line up in shotgun with a 220-pound quarterback who is built like a tank.
Right.
With a center who has been prone this season for some odd reason to snap it over your head. I don't. That's coaching, Jake. That's coaching.
Yeah, I agree. That baffled me. I was like, we have this quarterback who is built like a middle linebacker, and we're 6 yards deep from 5 yards deep at the 6-yard line, snapping the ball. When 4 plays up the middle with Milroe, and a QB sneak, if you do that, and if they stop you all 4 downs, you give Ole Miss or whoever it is credit, but you got to snap the ball under center in that situation and go for the touchdown. You can't be in shotgun formation, on first down in that situation. And I feel like we left some points on the board, of course, with the interception, but right there we left 7 on the board as well. I mean, that was prime opportunity. And I mean, after the block punt, you talk about a momentum swing, and then it seems like we just gave it right back,
Yep. Well, and then Jake, I think what was it? They went back like 22 yards in 3 plays.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's killer. You can't have that type of stuff. I mean, Alabama's fortunate that they didn't come back and really bite them. But you think about that play, they had another touchdown call back for a penalty. That's the 5th one this season. I think they still ended up scoring on that possession. Then the officials have the debacle where they lose a down for Alabama on one drive, which, who knows? Alabama, they had to settle for a field goal. Who knows? They might have scored a touchdown on that drive. So a lot of things just kind of went crazy for Alabama in this game. And how many times can opponents fumble the ball this year and it bounced straight back to them instead of an Alabama defender? I think it's 6 forced fumbles now for Alabama on the season, and they've yet to recover one.
I know
that's almost unheard of.
It is. It just bounces right back towards the opposing team. It's insane. But I want to go to the chat real quick. Doc Mo, he says Milroe isn't perfect, but he is tough as nails. You're sure the team can follow that type of leadership. Absolutely. As soon as he got hurt, he was laying there, and immediately I started seeing people on on X and all that, or Twitter, and just like, hope he's okay, but this is a chance for Ty Simpson. I'm like, but I mean, if I want Milroe to be successful, I would love for Ty to get his chance too. But right now, Milroe is the guy. He needs to, we've got to get behind him as Bama fans. And he just popped right back up and went over there and congratulated Hale. And I'm like, okay, that's the leadership we've been missing on offense. And I just felt like it kind of gave a spark to the team after that.
Yeah, and a good running game always helps a quarterback out, especially a quarterback who's still trying to develop. And, Jason McClellan, especially in the second half, it was kind of the story of what Roydell Williams did last week in the second half against South Florida. Jason McClellan ran with some determination there in the second half, finishing the game with 17 carries for 105 yards for 6.2 yards per carry. Of course, he had one touchdown call back as well. So a great game for Jason McClellan. Not sure what Roydell Williams' numbers were in the contest, but he had several carries as well. 8 carries, 21 yards. So 45 carries for the team, 131 yards. But you got to negate. So there was a lot of sack yardage in the game for Milroe because I thought overall the offensive line did fairly decent in pass protection. There was just a couple times where Milroe just held on the ball way too long or ran out of bounds instead of throwing it away. That's just stuff that he's got to be coached out of, and he's got to learn from that type of stuff. So I thought overall it was a pretty good day running the football for Alabama, and that really helped Milroe in the second half, especially with the deep play action game where he's really comfortable and confident in, and he was able to hit those deep shots to those wide receivers.
Yeah, and another comment, Doc Mo says, Milroe's footwork is why his intermediate passes are inconsistent. Yeah, he's still got to work on those, but a few of those, he went 17 or 21 today. Not all 17 of those passes were deep shots. He took some intermediate passes, and some of them looked really good. Some of them, Robbie Oots made a perfect catch on one of them, got a first down for us. I think it was in the third quarter, kept the drive going. He's got to work out his footwork or his feet, but once he does, I think Milroe is going to be okay. It's just he's got to get coached out of that, like you said, Stacey.
Well, and then there was another big third down that he picked up through the air to Amari Niblack, Jake, and it was called back for a penalty, saying there was two guys in motion at the same time, and there wasn't.
No, there was nobody moving.
Malik Benson was the only guy in motion.
He went
so
out.
I don't know what that play was about, but he made a great throw to Amari Niblack down the field, a strike to him, and that was probably a 25-yard gain that got wiped away. So, I mean, I thought Milroe, especially in the second half, looked more comfortable and confident in the offense, and I really believe a lot of that had to do is because the running game was slowly but surely starting to catch on. And he was able to hit those deep shots as well to help him, gain more confidence. And he just showed a lot of grit and toughness, Jake, standing in there taking those big licks. And when you're as big as Milroe is, you can afford to take some of those licks, but he needs to protect himself a little bit better. But man, what a great throw to Burton, and what a great throw to Hale there for a touchdown that really opened the game up for Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one play, I think it was in the first quarter. We had Jace out in the flat, and Milroe was looking downfield on, and he almost got sad, but he finally saw him. But, Milroe still's got to work on reading, the defense a little bit better. But I felt like he was pulling off his guys a little bit quicker today than what he has been, and he started finding the open guy. There was a couple of drives there where he hit a running back out in the flat and picked up some valuable yardage. So, as long as he can continue improving, I think this Alabama offense will continue getting better. And like you mentioned about Jace McClellan and just getting the running game going, I felt like in the second half, those big offensive linemen finally started pushing their wheel on that defensive front of Ole Miss and started opening up some running lanes. And Jace, man, he had a great game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Jake, as far as how this game is going to help Alabama moving forward. Of course, they got Mississippi State next week there in Starkville on Saturday night. So a big game there, Jake. You go back on the road to try to get better and improve. So what does a performance like this, especially in the second half against a really good team in Ole Miss, help Alabama? How does that help Alabama moving forward this season?
I think it's a positive. You got a lot you can take away from the second half on improvements. We've got issues still that we need to work out, but the second half offense was just pretty much forcing its will against Ole Miss. I think you continue getting a game plan around Jalen Milroe and his strengths. Get the running game going early. That way you can have those deep play action shots, because if you're running the ball effectively, they're going to move those safeties in a little bit, and you're going to have one of those speedy wide receivers get open downfield. And that's just right into the wheelhouse of Jalen Milroe. So the game plan I thought was perfect today. We got to continue working on that and getting Milroe more comfortable in the pocket and getting some plays designed and running for him today was really good too, I thought.
Yeah, and that part of it needs to be executed a little bit better. I thought we could have blocked a little better on some of the quarterback design runs to maybe spring him for a little bit bigger gains. But overall, Jake, what I take away from this game is if you listen to Coach Saban throughout the entire week, he talked about the confidence that he had in the team. And I felt like Coach Saban's had the confidence, but I'm not sure the players had the confidence, whether it was, the confidence about themselves or about their teammates. But I think what today proved is that they are a good football team. They're capable of being a really good football team if they come together, they believe in one another, and have confidence in not only what the coaches are telling them to do, but in the players then executing and their teammates executing beside them to do the right thing and put them in the best position to be successful. So I think this is a great confidence builder for this football team and something they can kind of carry with them into next week and for the remainder of the season, Jake, because despite the loss to Texas, they don't have any, they're perfect in SEC play, and everything they want to accomplish is still ahead of them. And they've started off on the right foot, getting a big 14-point win over Ole Miss to start SEC play. Now they head on the road to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. And it's just about remaining poised, remaining confident, and trusting in the coaches and your teammates that they're going to do their job and get their job done. And that's how this team's going to be successful, because the talent's there, Jake. 4 and 5 stars across the board. The coaches know what they're doing. I know it's easy sitting on the couch, and say, well, what are we doing there? Why do we call that play? Hindsight's 20/20. Look, them coaches are making a lot of money because they know what they're doing. So I trust in the coaches to get it right. I trust in the players now that they have the confidence to kind of continue to build off what they've done today and carry that over into next week against Mississippi State.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Stacey. It's gelling as a team. Seems like we gelled really well in the second half, getting more poised, like you said. Ben Ross said in the chat, he looked talking about Milroe. He looked poised in the second half. I agree with that, and just getting him more confident throughout the games. I think that's going to be a big help for the team moving forward.
Okay, so Jake, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions. What right now, entering what next week will be week 5. Entering week 5, Jake, what do you believe is what gives you the biggest concern for Alabama moving forward?
It's just consistency on the offense. If they can put it together and be consistent, then they're going to be a really dangerous football team. I don't have really any issues with the defense as long as they're getting pressure, because you saw today when you get pressure on the quarterback, what can happen? You hold a really good offensive team to 10 points. So that's something that we missed against Texas. I don't know what happened in that game, but you see what happens when you get pressure on the quarterback. You get him flustered and you take him out of his game pretty much. But I feel like just consistency on the offensive side of the ball, and this team, like you said, 4 and 5 stars across the board, they can do it. They just got to get it together. And I think they will after the second half and just continue to improve throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, so what gives you the most confidence in this team moving forward?
To me, I feel like it's that they're finally playing together as a team. Talking about consistency, but I think it's a downfall and a bonus if they're not playing well together as a team, then they're not going to be successful. But them coming together today, and it seemed like a lot of people was holding each other accountable, a lot of pointing fingers, like, why'd you let that dude go, and all that. So we've got to get leaders built up on this team. I feel like this is a start to get some leadership built up, because we need some leadership on this team to be successful moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think the defense is good enough to keep Alabama in every single game, regardless of what the offense is doing. The defense is going to be good to kind of keep Alabama in. So it's really up to Tommy Rees, Jalen Milroe, and this Alabama offense to get Alabama to their full potential. Because I thought there was complimentary football in the second half was the story of the game for Alabama. The defense got to stop. The offense scored, or the offense scored, then the defense gets a big stop. You think about what the defense did there at the end of the game, not allowing Ole Miss to score. I feel like in years past, Jake, especially over the last couple of years, Alabama gives up a touchdown there. That's what has happened, but not today, Jake. Give credit to Kevin Steele. He said, you know what? I'm not letting them sit back there and eat me up. I'm bringing the house. And he brings a double safety blitz, and it's all out. And Malachi Moore hits dart, Risey throwing it, and that's what happens, Jake. You can't allow quarterbacks to sit back there all day long. And kudos to Kevin Steele for calling that play on fourth down and not allowing Ole Miss to just walk it into the end zone for an easy touchdown. To not only get like a backdoor cover, but to make this game look closer than what it really was, Jake. The truth is, in the second half, Alabama completely dominated that game. I would be anxious to see what the split stats are for this game for the first half compared to the second half, because Alabama just physically dominated Ole Miss there in the second half, both offensively and defensively. And just the way they were able to play complementary football between the offense and the defense is the story of the game. And if they can continue to do that, Jake, they can beat just about anybody.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Stacey. And two things I want to say real quick before we get off here. Number one, Malachi Moore is having a very special season. I mean, he is all over the field. I mean, he had a couple, I think, big plays in the backfield, and had the sack nearly on a dart there, which almost it still ended up as a turnover, but he just played. He's just been playing out of his mind this year. And the other thing is, and we have talked about it ad nauseum, it seems like, when you get your head around and look for the ball, good things happen. And this is what this team and the secondary has done all year. Kool-Aid missed one. He could have had an interception as well today. So getting your head turned around, looking for the ball, it's just great to see, because we feel like this defense, we talked about it, they need to have some turnovers today for Alabama to have a chance to win, and that's what they did. And not to mention the strip fumbles that just fall right back to Ole Miss every time. And so this team is coming out and they're trying to force takeaways and get takeaways. So that's great to see moving forward, especially in the SEC slate.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave out the special teams either. Great performance by the special teams. You get a block punt. Rockard's perfect on the day. James Burnett lights out as a punter. It's looking like Alabama has the best duo. As far as a place kicker and punter go, it'd be hard to find a better duo than what Alabama has in James Burnett and Will Rockard. So the special teams come to play today. Jam Miller, I know it got called for targeting, but that's how you come down and you play special teams on a kickoff coverage. So love to see that. Love to see the physicality. I hate the targeting rule. It's bogus. It's crap. It's ruining the game. If I know he led with his head, but if the guy running the football doesn't lower his head, there's no helmet to helmet contact. So at what point do we have enough of that and just say, come on, let's just let the guys play football. It's a physical sport. Things are going to happen, and do away with the whole targeting mess. It's becoming ridiculous.
Yeah, I was so mad about that play, because you're taught at a young age, Stacey. You play football from Pee Wee all the way through high school. I played Pee Wee and a little bit in high school as well. But you're taught to get lower than the ball carrier, and when you go lower than the ball carrier, and he lowers his head, where your helmet's going to touch. So you have there's no way. Is there a rhyme or reason how to tackle anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, it's almost they're forcing it to be two-hand touch. Then the penalty where we're trying to bat the ball down at the line of scrimmage, and our guy tickles Jackson Dart's face mask, so they call roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
it's
come on.
unbelievable how
Soft.
soft the game has
Yeah.
become. We said
Yeah.
that in unison. We were
Yeah.
thinking the exact same thing. But
Yeah.
that's going to wrap up our instant reaction show for Alabama's big win over Ole Miss, 24-10 to start the SEC slate. Big time win. Thanks again to Bleacher Report for letting us do this in the post game. We will be back again next week for another episode here on the Bleacher Report app. So excited about that. We're going to be here as long as Bleacher Report will have us. So make sure you download the Bleacher Report app today and be tuned in following every Alabama football game so you can catch our instant reaction to the game. But thank you so much for watching. Cannot wait to be back here again next week. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.